Yo, what's up guys? It's Noah here. And in today's video, going to be breaking down the NBA slate on Draftkings for Tuesday, October the 25th. Small slate for Tuesday, just 4 games today, but this is definitely an interesting slate because we do have some big injuries today. Guys have already been ruled out, some key injuries. No Paul George, no SGA, no Josh Giddey, no Brandon Ingram. Definitely going to be, kind of interesting to talk through these teams and kind of how I expect things to look with all these guys out. Plus, we have some key questionables to monitor. Zion Williamson's questionable. Herbert Jones questionable too. Even guys like Marcus Morris are out as well. So yeah, it's definitely an interesting 4-game slate. As always, guys, we're going to talk through these 4 games. We're going to go game by game, kind of break it down from each game and kind of the slate aspect as a whole. But before we do get started with the breakdown, make sure you guys hit that like button down below if you do enjoy all these DFS videos. Hit that subscribe button if you have not yet. Also, if you are new and you have not checked out the sponsor of this video, make sure to check out PrizePicks. Again, they are the sponsor. You can sign up for PrizePicks and use promo code NOAH. When you do sign up with my promo code, you will get your first deposit matched up to $100. In PrizePicks, they are a player prop-based DFS site. Simple, easy to use. You're just taking more or less on a player's projection. You're not having to build out a lineup and compete against a bunch of other players. It's you versus their projections. So you can take a look at their board and see all the projections they have posted already for Tuesday. Not much is up right now because I'm recording this video on Monday night. But obviously, as we get closer to the start of the games on Tuesday, sometime Tuesday morning, Tuesday afternoon, you'll see some more props added, a bunch of different categories. You can take a look at all the props that PropSix has available. They do offer a lot of other sports outside of just NBA. You can mix and match sports on PrizePicks. You can make multi-sport entries. It's a lot of fun. You guys definitely need to be playing over there. If you're not signed up for PrizePicks yet, get over there and sign up with promo code NOAH so that way you do get your deposit bonus when you sign up. And as always, I will be sharing some plays that I like for PrizePicks today. Gave out 3 picks on Tuesday, went 2-1 on Monday. Gave out 3 picks for Monday, went 2-1 on our 3 picks. So positive day overall. I'll have some plays I like for Tuesday's slate. If I don't post the video later tonight, then it'll definitely be up, sometime on Tuesday. So check out that video if you're already playing on PrizePicks and you want to know some picks that I'm on for today. And one more thing, guys, if you enjoy all the content that I provide on YouTube, you want to get more content from me, I do provide additional DFS content over on Patreon. I do give out player pool and core plays for both Draftkings and for Yahoo. I did have some people asking questions about Yahoo. I'm still covering Yahoo, but I'm just doing it on Patreon. So if you want more DFS content from me, check out the Patreon, link down below in the description. You can see all that I do offer over there. But let's talk through this 4-game slate for Tuesday. Let's start off with the first game of the night, the Pistons and the Wizards. So looking at this game, this is one that I'm not super interested in. There's definitely some teams we're going to talk about in depth. The Pelicans, the Clippers, the Thunder, those are going to be the teams that we kind of really have to spend some time on today. So this game is not one that I'm loving, but there are some viable plays here. Bradley Beal, so far this season, has not really shown a ton of upside, and playing with Kristaps Porzingis and Kyle Kuzma, doesn't seem to be good for Bradley Beal's overall fantasy value and his upside. He definitely seems to have taken kind of like a secondary role this season. He's not as ball dominant as he's been. He's not demanding as high of a usage rate. But we know Bradley Beal can put up a big game any night. We know he's going to play massive minutes on a nightly basis. I mean, the Pistons are not a good team, so I definitely think Bradley Beal has upside here. But until we see that big ceiling game from him, if we ever do, I don't know if Beal's going to be someone that I prioritize paying up for. I think he will be very low owned on this slate. So if you want to play a low owned Bradley Beal, you could definitely go there. But he's not someone that I'm really going out of my way to play. Cade Cunningham, I did play last slate, just kind of as the last piece in. I didn't really want to play Cade Cunningham last slate, but he just kind of fit into my lineup, and I like the rest of my lineup. And he didn't have that good of a game. He scored 36 Draftkings points, 22 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists. Cade Cunningham's another guy that does offer some upside. Matchup against the Wizards, I think, is fine, but $7,900 feels like an appropriate price tag for Cade Cunningham. I don't think he really stands out as a priority option today. And that's just kind of the case with a lot of guys in this game. Kyle Kuzma, Kristaps Porzingis, they both feel priced correctly. $7,700 for Porzingis, $6,900 for Kuzma. I'm not loving much here. These guys are playable GPP options, but that's really just it. Jaden Ivey's been playing really well this season, but now he's almost $7K, so I think he's priced appropriately now. He's not really someone that I'm looking to. Saddiq Bey at $6,100 just feels fine. I'm not loving Saddiq Bey at that salary. He's normally a guy that I don't really ever go out of my way to play when he's above 6K. Bojan Bogdanovic, if he can get hot from 3, we know he has somewhat of a ceiling, but again, $5,500, he doesn't really stand out to me. Isaiah Stewart at 5,300, like you can maybe go to. I think this is a pretty good matchup for Isaiah Stewart. We have seen centers have a lot of success against the Wizards, dating back to last season. I think, it's going to be the same again this season. If we get 30 minutes from Isaiah Stewart, he normally does average around a fantasy point per minute. So at 5,300, I think Stewart's like a playable option. But that's really it from this game. Like, I'm not seeing too much that I'm loving in this one. I don't think there's really any standout plays coming from this game. I think you're just kind of looking at some GPP options. Guys like Bradley Beal, Cade Cunningham, Porzingis, Kuzma. They're in play for GPPs, but that's really it. No priority plays coming from this one. So let's move on to the next game, talk about Dallas and New Orleans. And we're going to go team by team for this game because I think we definitely have to separate this game by team. So first off, we'll start off with Dallas. I think looking at this slate as a whole, Luka Doncic definitely is the best pay-up option overall today. And because we do have so many guys out, there's going to be some value to go to. So it should be fairly easy to pay up for Luka here. The matchup against the Pelicans I don't think is the best because the Pelicans are probably going to put Herb Jones on Luka, and Herb Jones is one of the better defenders in the league. But when it comes to Luka Doncic, I don't care who's guarding him. I mean, they could put the whole fucking team on him. It doesn't matter with Luka. Luka's going to find a way to score fancy points. He's going to find a way to put the ball in the basket. He's just one of the most dominant players in the league. He's leading the league or tied for the league with a 38.2% usage rate this season. Only guy that has a similar usage rate is Darius Garland. So Luka's just had a monster usage rate this season. He's put up 56 and 65 Draftkings points through their first 2 games. Even though he might see, some good defense from Herb Jones, I don't really care. I think Luka's he's the best pay-up option today. Then you got Christian Wood at 7,600. Christian Wood has been playing really well off the bench for the Mavs. He's been doing some crazy production in fairly limited minutes. I mean, he's been averaging over 1.5 fantasy points per minute. I'm assuming at some point this crazy run that Christian Wood is on is going to come to a halt. He's not going to continue to put up over 40 fantasy points in 25 minutes. So at 7,600, I'm not really that interested in Christian Wood. I mean, I think he's definitely overpriced right now. I think DraftKings has just kind of had to adjust his price tag because of the big performances that he's had. He's going to get a lot of usage playing with the second unit, but again, if you're only getting 24, 25 minutes from Christian Wood, he's not a $7,600 player. He should be in the mid-6s. You're definitely overpaying for him right now, so I'm probably just going to be avoiding Christian Wood. I don't really like anything else from the Mavs. I mean, this team, the usage is so dominated by Luka and technically Christian Wood too that we just haven't really seen anyone on the Mavs do anything this season for DFS purposes. Spencer Dinwiddie has not had the best season for fantasy. I mean, he's been okay, but he's not a guy that I really ever go out of my way to roster. I would have thought, or at least you would have thought without Jalen Brunson that Dinwiddie would actually have a pretty decent role this season. And he's going to get, pretty good minutes. He's going to play probably low 30s minutes here if it's a close game. So at 5,400, Dinwiddie is playable, but I don't feel great about him. Tim Hardaway Jr. coming off the bench, I mean, he's playable. He's a guy that can get hot from 3. He's a pretty good shooter, but he's not a standout option. Dorian Finney-Smith is just kind of out there for defense. We know Dorian Finney-Smith is going to play big minutes, so he's kind of he's a better version of PJ Tucker. He's a more productive version of PJ Tucker. He's not a guy that you ever feel great rock-swing, but you're getting big minutes from Dorian Finney-Smith. He can knock down some threes. He can rebound. He can get defensive stats. He's a playable value at 4,700, but there's not really much I'm loving from the Mavs outside of Luka. I mean, Luka is definitely the priority play on this team. Now, talking about the Pelicans, so this is definitely a team we're going to have to spend a little bit of time on. No Brandon Ingram, Zion Williamson questionable, Herb Jones questionable. I don't know what the starting lineup for the Pelicans is going to look like today. Obviously, CJ McCollum is going to start. Jonas Valanciunas is going to start. If Zion plays, he will start. If Herb Jones plays, he will start. Who replaces Brandon Ingram? Probably Trey Murphy, but they could go a lot of ways. They could start Devontae Graham, they could start Najee Marshall, but I think the most likely scenario is that probably either one of Trey Murphy or Najee Marshall starts in place of Ingram. Trey Murphy's actually been pretty productive on a point per minute basis this season, and he's been getting decent minutes off the bench. He played 40 minutes last game. I think he was the guy that really benefited last game after Ingram got hurt because Ingram didn't play much. He only played 11 minutes before he had to leave the game. So I think Trey Murphy probably starts for Brandon Ingram. I would feel a little bit better about him if Zion was out too, because we know the usage in this offense is going to be concentrated around McCollum, J-Val, and Zion. If Zion were to be out, that would definitely just give more usage available. Probably more usage for guys like McCollum and J-Val, but technically could be some more opportunity for Trey Murphy too. Now, Trey Murphy's 4,800. He's not an a great value play, but I think if he does start in place of Brandon Ingram, he will be at least a playable option. But without Brandon Ingram, the big beneficiaries here are the main guys. Zion, if he plays, CJ McCollum, and J-Val. Now, Zion, I do want to talk about because so far this season, he has been on a minutes limit. They said, he wasn't really limited, but he hasn't played over 31 minutes yet in any game this season. So I don't know if we're going to get like 36, 38 minutes from Zion. I think they're going to keep him in the low 30s just to keep him like in that kind of that low range. I'm sure at some point he's going to start playing mid to high 30s minutes, but until we see it, I think we just have to expect Zion to play like 30 to 32 minutes. Now, Zion can put up 50 fantasy points in 30 minutes, especially with Brandon Ingram out. But at 8,700, I don't think Zion's going to be someone that I really prioritize paying up for today. CJ McCollum, though, I do like a ton. He's the thumbnail for this video. He's a guy that I think should really benefit here without Brandon Ingram. I know CJ McCollum, was really good on the on a point per minute basis last season whenever Ingram was off the floor. I know his usage does see a big spike. I'm sure without Ingram here, we should expect pretty good usage for CJ McCollum. He's going to have the ball in his hands a ton. He should definitely be taking more shot attempts. His assists should be way up. He obviously had a really big game last game after Ingram left. 41 minutes from McCollum, shot the ball 25 times, 28 points, 12 assists, 4 rebounds. I know his price tag went up to $8K, but you could argue that without Ingram, McCollum should be a $9K player. So I still think he's too cheap. I think CJ McCollum looks like a great option today. And then Jonas Valanciunas, I think, also gets a little boost here without Ingram. Probably should get some more usage. I would definitely like J-Val a lot more if Zion were to sit, because I think if there's no Zion and no Ingram, and that's a lot of opportunity for J-Val. I think his rebounds would definitely be a lot higher if Zion were to sit. He would probably get some more usage as well without those guys. Regardless, though, I think at 7,800, J-Val is firmly in play today. But again, I would prefer that Zion be out before I go to J-Val, because I think J-Val would get a bigger boost if Zion were to sit. Larry Nance will probably become a viable option if Zion's out. I don't know who would start in place of Zion. I guess that's something that we could talk about. It probably would be Larry Nance, but again, they could go a lot of different ways. They could start a guard in place of Ingram and then just start a guard for Ingram and then maybe Murphy slides down to the 4. So they could start McCollum, Devontae Graham, Herb Jones, Murphy, J-Val. They could do that. But I think most likely scenario is that if Zion is out, it probably will be Larry Nance starting. And he's only 5K. Larry Nance is a pretty good point per minute player. So if he does wind up starting, if Zion's out, I do have some interest in Larry Nance for value. Herb Jones, I'm assuming he'll probably play here, but even if he does play, he's not someone that I'm in love with just because Herbert Jones is not the best for fantasy. He's a really, really good defender, and I think he's a really good player, but for DFS purposes, he's not a guy that's really going to stuff the stat sheet. He's just kind of out there for defense. He can knock down some threes. At 4,700, he feels priced appropriately today. But yeah, this Pelicans team, definitely a team we had to talk about. It's going to be interesting to see who winds up starting here. Their starting lineup is going to be really important. We'll have to pay attention to that. We'll also have to pay attention to the news on Zion and Herb Jones. I think the most likely scenario is that Zion and Herb Jones both play, but they could maybe sit Zion here. I mean, Zion did look a little banged up. I didn't get to see that injury that he suffered, but I heard it did not look good. So yeah, we'll just have to keep an eye on it. Hopefully I broke that down the best that I could. I definitely think right now, CJ McCollum looks like a great play. J-Val I do like quite a bit, would like him even more if Zion's out. And then depending on what the starting lineup is, we could definitely get value from guys like Larry Nance, Trey Murphy, maybe a Devontae Graham if he were to start, or someone like that. But let's move on to the next game, talk about the Clippers and the Thunder. So this is another game where we will go team by team because we do have to talk about these teams kind of separately. So look at the Clippers here. No Paul George, no Marcus Morris. Kawhi Leonard, I don't think is really going to be playable right now until his price tag comes down or until his minutes go up. Right now, they've been bringing him off the bench. He's been playing about 20 to 22 minutes a night. I expect Kawhi Leonard to be very productive when he's on the floor, but if he's only playing low 20s minutes, at 8,300, you just can't roster him. Ivica Zubac, so he's a guy that I think is very interesting here. He's a guy that can be really productive when he gets minutes, but his minutes have just been all over the place. He played 35 minutes in their season opener, went nuts, had 45 Draftkings points, and then the last 2 games he's played just 24 and 21 minutes. The matchup here is fantastic. The Thunder can't rebound. They really struggle to defend bigs. I think Zubac could put up a really big game here. I'm just worried about his minutes. This Clippers team, they feel I think they're a team that knows that they can play small. They'll play Robert Covington at the 5 a lot, and this is probably a matchup where they could definitely go small if they wanted to. But if Zubac does get like 30 plus minutes, I mean, he could crush here against the Thunder. He's definitely a risky option just because the minutes are not secure. But I do like the matchup a lot, and I think Zubac should be very productive in the minutes that he's on the floor. Reggie Jackson and John Wall, it's a really tough situation with those two guys because they're basically just splitting the point guard minutes. Last game, Reggie Jackson played 24 minutes. John Wall played 21. My guess is you get like 26 minutes from Jackson, maybe 24 from Wall. Maybe they do play alongside each other for a little bit. I think both Jackson and Wall should be more productive without Paul George. Where they're priced at, like I think Jackson's still the guy that I prefer just because he is going to start. He probably will play more minutes. But John Wall has been really productive coming off the bench. I mean, he's been averaging a fantasy point per minute this season, if not greater. And now without Paul George, you would only expect the usage and point per minute production to increase for John Wall. I think both these guys are interesting. Like, I don't think I would play them together, but I do like these guards for the Clippers. I think Reggie Jackson's playable. I think John Wall offers some upside as well. And then, some of these wings, these forwards, you got Norman Powell at 4,800. He's been starting for the Clippers, has not really been doing anything this season. He's not been productive at all, but there should be a lot of usage available for a guy like Norman Powell, and we know Norman Powell can produce when he gets minutes. He's a guy that can score. He just hasn't been able to see the ball go through the basket yet this season. But at 4,800, without Morris and without PG, I think Norman Powell is a pretty good value. Luke Kennard is probably a guy that could start here in place of Paul George, and he's only 4,200. If Luke Kennard winds up starting, he is someone that I do have interest in for value. Robert Covington, he might get some minutes, like some additional minutes without Marcus Morris and Paul George, but they've kind of just been using Robert Covington as like the backup center. I don't know how much him and Zubac are really going to play alongside each other, so I don't know if Covington really gets too big of a boost. I think the guy that'll probably see the boost in minutes without Morris is Nicholas Batum. Like, I think he probably sees a boost in minutes here. He might start in place of Marcus Morris. If Batum does start for Morris, then at 3,200, I mean, he's so cheap that I think Nicholas Batum would definitely be in play. Now, at this point in his career, I don't think Nicholas Batum's like a great producer by any means, but he's so cheap, and we're looking for value because we definitely want to try and pay up for Luka today. That I think if Nicholas Batum does start, he will be in play. And then Terrence Mann, I mean, he hasn't really had much of a role this season with the Clippers. He's not really been playing a ton. But if he winds up starting in place of Paul George, which is a possibility, at 4K, I would definitely have interest in Terrence Mann. So we're going to have to pay attention to the Clippers starting lineup. They're going to be missing 2 starters today. We know for a fact that Kawhi Leonard's probably not going to start. They're going to keep bringing him off the bench. Most likely scenario is that probably Luke Kennard and then one of Terrence Mann or Nicholas Batum starts. Like, my best guess is it's going to be 2 of Kennard, Mann, Batum. I don't think Covington's going to start. I don't think John Wall's going to start, and I don't think Kawhi's starting. So 2 of Kennard, Batum, Mann are going to start. Whichever starts, I feel the best about, but there's going to be minutes available here. The Clippers are definitely going to have to run a tighter rotation. The Clippers are a pretty deep team, and they do like to run a pretty deep rotation, but they're going to be missing 2 key guys. So you probably will see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Like, probably a 9-man rotation. I doubt any of these other guys get minutes. So yeah, there's going to be a lot to like from the Clippers. This is definitely a team I'm going to want to get some exposure to. I think my favorite plays are probably going to depend on starting lineup, but probably Norman Powell, Luke Kennard. If Terrence Mann starts, he's up there for value as well. And then the guards, Jackson and Wall, I think are both pretty solid plays too. So a lot to like from the Clippers today. And then on the OKC side, there's going to be a lot to like from this team. Hopefully this game stays close. I think without Paul George, it has a possibility to stay close. Plus OKC's playing at home. But without SGA and without Josh Giddey, I mean, this is a really, really bad team that the Thunder are going to be rolling out here. Lou Dort at 6K, I think, is going to get a lot of usage and a lot of opportunity. Lou Dort has never really been a great point-per-minute player, but, man, like, you just look at the rest of this Thunder roster, and there's not a lot of ball-dominant, high-usage players. So I think Dort's going to have plenty of opportunity. I do worry about the Thunder getting blown out here, but if they can keep this game close, you would have to think that Lou Dort's probably going to be one of the reasons why. He's for sure in play at 6K. I'm expecting Trey Mann to start. He started last game in place of SGA. He didn't really do anything, but at 5,500, especially without Giddey as well, I think Trey Mann's going to have plenty of opportunity. We saw Trey Mann, I mean, he was priced like up in the 7K range last season, if I remember correctly, when the Thunder were really shorthanded. I mean, this is basically how they're going to be today. I mean, there was a time last season where the Thunder were running like 8 players out there every night. I don't know how many active players they're going to have tonight, but they're definitely going to be missing 2 of their high usage players. So going to be a lot of opportunity for a guy like Trey Mann. JRE, I don't think his role really changes at all. He's not really going to be a guy that soaks up usage, so not a ton of interest in JRE. I think Poku, though, is a guy that could definitely see a lot more opportunity. Poku is a pretty productive player when he does get minutes, and he's another guy that we saw last season be really productive whenever the Thunder were really shorthanded. I don't know what the starting lineup is going to look like for OKC. Obviously, we expect Lou Dort to start. We probably expect, I guess, either one of JRE or Kendrick Williams to start. And then we do expect Trey Mann to start. So Dort, Mann, Williams, JRE, and then like maybe they go Poku, maybe they go Bazley. I know Bazley's barely been in the rotation. He's barely been playing. He only played 4 minutes last game. But yeah, depending on what starting lineup looks like here, like we could definitely get some value from OKC. I think Poku, if he starts, is going to be a really good value. Kendrick Williams has been starting. He hasn't really been doing anything. But now without the two highest usage players on the team, with no SGA and with no Giddey, there's going to be plenty of opportunity for Kendrick Williams. And he's another guy that can be productive, when he gets minutes, especially without those guys on the floor. So I do like Kendrick Williams for value. I don't know if like Mike Muscala's role really changes. I mean, he's not really going to see a boost in minutes. You're mainly going to be looking at the guards and the wings here. So Dort, Mann, Poku, Williams, these are the guys that are probably going to see a boost in minutes and production. Darius Bazley might play a little bit more. Maybe Aaron Wiggins plays a little bit more. But I think the biggest beneficiaries without SGA and without Giddey are going to be Dort, Mann, Poku, and Williams. Those are the guys that I have the most interest in. We'll have to see what the starting lineup looks like. If all four of those guys start, I think they're definitely going to be all in play. I think my favorite would probably be Mann and Poku. But yeah, there's going to be a lot to like from OKC. Without their top two players, there's definitely some value here. Let's go ahead and move on to the last game of the night, the Suns and the Warriors. Should be a really fun game to watch. This is kind of the late night hammer. So starting off, kind of look at the top here. You got Steph Curry at 9,900, Devin Booker at 9K. On a short 4-game slate where we do have some value, obviously you can pay up for Steph, you can pay up for Booker. I think right now Luka's the guy that I want to be prioritizing, but I expect that to be the case for a lot of people. So I think Steph will come in at very low ownership. Steph is normally he's never a guy that ever gets a ton of ownership just because he's always overpriced for his projection. He has a massive ceiling, but he also does have kind of a lower floor just because he is a scoring dependent player. But Steph can put up 60 fantasy points any night. It's a tough matchup against Phoenix. He's probably going to be guarded by Mikal Bridges, who's a really good defender. I think Steph has struggled in the past against Bridges, if I do remember correctly. But if you want to play Steph in GPPs at low ownership, by all means, go ahead. Devin Booker at 9K, I don't think is really a priority at his salary. I definitely think he's priced appropriately, but he's always a playable option, especially on a short slate. Andrew Wiggins, he's been playing really, really well. He's been producing at a really high rate, had a really high floor this season. He's been playing massive minutes as well. I think at 7,100, Andrew Wiggins looks like a very solid option in the mid-range, and he's probably my favorite play overall from Golden State. Might be my favorite play in this game. Chris Paul at 7K, a little bit underwhelming this season, but last 2 games he's looked a little bit better. 44 DK points in 36 minutes against Portland. Last game, 37 DK points in 33 minutes. The assists have been there this season. It's just he's not really been scoring much, but he's also not been shooting the ball that well. So I think at some point, Chris Paul is going to start knocking down some shots. We know he's always going to rack up assists. He can get you some rebounds as well. I think at 7K, he's probably my favorite play from Phoenix. If I had to go to anyone on the Sun side, DeAndre Ayton, I don't mind at 6,700 as kind of a mid-range center option. Ayton did get into some foul trouble last game. Still played 29 minutes, but wasn't super productive. Normally, though, Ayton's going to play mid to high 30s minutes, and I think at 6,700, he's still probably a little bit too cheap. Jordan Poole, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, I don't think really any of those guys stand out. Poole's going to get probably like close to 30 minutes off the bench. We know he's going to have high usage when he's on the floor, but he's priced appropriately, I think. Klay Thompson, Draymond Green are both still kind of on a minutes limit. Last game, Klay played 27 minutes. That was the most that he's played all season, but we're not going to really get 30-plus minutes from Klay for a while, it seems like. They're kind of going to keep it easy on him, so until we see Klay play more minutes, I don't think he's really viable at 5,800. Same goes for Draymond. Draymond last game played 28 minutes. He probably gets 28, 30 minutes again. At 5,600, Draymond could put up 35 Draftkings points in 28 minutes. He put up 38 DK points in 27 minutes against the Nuggets. But I don't think Draymond's really a priority play today, especially with the minutes limit. And then Mikal Bridges, Cam Johnson, they're both playable. Bridges is going to play massive minutes. They're going to want him out there to guard Steph. But we know Mikal Bridges is not he's not the best fantasy point per minute player. For him to have a big game, he's just going to have he's going to have a really good shooting game, or maybe get some steals and blocks, which he can always do. But again, I don't think Bridges is really a priority play. And then same goes for Cam Johnson. Cam Johnson's a really good shooter. But he's a scoring dependent player. So if he's not really knocking down shots, he's not going to offer a ton of upside. But at 4,800, like he's an okay option. I think though my favorite plays in this game are definitely Andrew Wiggins, Chris Paul, and DeAndre Ayton. Those are probably the 3 guys I like most from this one. And that's really it from this game. So I think that does it, guys, for this short little 4-game slate for Tuesday. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hopefully this video did help. If you enjoyed, hit that like button down below. Hit that subscribe button if you have not yet. And again, make sure to check out PrizePicks, the sponsor of this video. Sign up for PrizePicks. Use promo code NOAH. When you do, you'll get your first deposit matched up to $100 when you do sign up with my promo code. And again, guys, I will be sharing some plays I like today for PrizePicks. I'll have a separate video posted probably sometime either on Monday night or sometime on Tuesday. I'll be sharing a couple plays I like for PrizePicks. Definitely check that video out if you do want to see some picks that I'll be running for this 4-game slate. But best of luck as always, guys. Thanks for watching the videos. Thanks for supporting the content. We'll see you in the next one. Peace.